Mystery Road. So Mystery Road, which is the new movie by Ivan Sen, starring Aaron Peters. So Mystery Road, which is the new movie, but I'm doing this for the YouTube thing, for starring Ivan Peterson. So the story is Ivan Peterson is an Indigenous Australian cop who has gone off to work in the Big Smoke. He has come back to his Outback Queensland small town where he is referred to derisively as an abo copper, and he finds himself caught between two worlds. On the one hand, the community that he comes from don't trust him anymore because he's a policeman and they don't trust. On the other hand, the people that he worked with think that somehow he's from the wrong side of the track. So he finds himself caught between two worlds. He then is immediately assigned to a case of a young girl who has been found killed under a roadway. And he thinks it's an important case, but his superiors don't agree. Here's a clip.
Sad. You know I've had nothing like this.
I know, Joe. But sooner or later, you're going to get it. I guess today's your lucky day.
So what can you give me?
I got every spare wheel in the drug squad or the theft squad. And Frank's leaving tomorrow. Don't forget his dinner's tonight. You're just going to have to ride bareback for a while. Things have changed since you've been away.
So, we got a young girl stuffed onto the highway.
I know, Jay. Just see what you can come up with. Okay?
And he does, and as he conducts his investigations, he starts to uncover this widening web of drug dealing and of the sexual abuse and sexual exploitation. And wherever he turns, he is seen as an outsider. Nobody particularly wants to cooperate with him. Now, the interesting thing about the film is the film takes place in these locations, which are called things like Massacre Creek and Slaughter Hill, and of course Mysterious Road, but it's much more tonally in keeping with something like Jindabyne than it is with Wolf Creek. In fact, its key generic touchstone is westerns. The central character, Jay Swan, as played brilliantly, I would say, by Aaron Peterson, has this Stetson hat. He carries his father's Winchester, and the outback scenery is shot sometimes to look like some kind of lunar dream of Monument Valley. It's a film in which, I mean, the director before has worked with fractured identities. That's his sort of something he's very, very interested in. He's talked about being interested in the historical figure of the turncoat. There's one moment in which the detective Jay Swan goes out to meet a white landowner, and the landowner says to him, "Are you one of those black trackers who turns on his own? Are you one of those people?" And somebody else asks, "How do you sleep at night, constantly looking up your own people?" So the point is, he's the divided soul. His wife thinks that he's gone off and abandoned their teenage daughter, and that his care for their teenage daughter has come 10 years too late. And all the way through the film, what the film is really interested in is this sort of broiling undercurrent of racial, political, cultural, economic tension. But the way it's decided to play that story out, rather than sort of the more experimental stuff that in the past Ivan Sen has done, is that it plays it out through the prism of genre. So on the one hand, you have this sort of noir-y thriller narrative that kind of alludes to Chinatown. I mean, you know, it is that sense of, you know, there is this vast area in which this sort of creeping malaise is virtually coming up through the ground. On the other hand, it nods its hat very much towards westerns. As I said before, that, you know, the Stetson, the rifle, the fact that it does have something which kind of approaches a Western shootout. It has some really, really terrific performances. I said Aaron Peterson himself, I think, is wonderful in the central role, but in all the sort of the individual and the supporting roles, what it does is it finds faces that the camera loves. It finds people who have, you know, sort of great and very interesting histories within the Australian film industry and the Australian theatre industry. And it plays all this out against a very, very minimal score. I mean, the director, he directs, he edits, he scores, he shoots. You know, he shoots, he scores. And he plays everything out with this very sort of minimal, sparse musical background. So you get this sense that you're out in this huge, vast desertscape. There is a kind of end of the world. So there's one sequence which takes place at the Dusk Till Dawn Motel, which kind of, you know, nods towards Mad Max, towards that kind of post-apocalyptic Australian genre. And all the way through it, there's this recurrent motif that people keep talking about wild dogs. They keep saying, "I heard wild dogs." Well, how do you know they were wild? And there's this really strange little thing going on at the very, very edge of the drama about this kind of new breed of wild dog, which seems to be... So the whole drama seems to take place in this vast landscape in which a darkness is encroaching, and in which actually the individual solution of the murder mystery mystery plot isn't really what it's about. It's about the characters, it's about the location, it's about the eye for detail, it's about the understated performances in which sometimes the scenes that say the most are the scenes in which the characters barely speak. I thought it was really rather impressive. Some people may find that at the end, the final act, they might find is too generic because it plays with genre cliches, plays with ludicrous genre cliches. But I found it very gripping and good to see in the cinema. It's something that you need to see on a proper big widescreen frame. It's called Mystery Road. And it's out today. Look, I did that. I finally remembered to say the name of the film at the end of the thing.
I was just about to say, remind us what it's called.
Thank you.
So, Mystery Road.